like, can you help me? And I'm like, you just have to ask, and she's like, are you sure? Like, how can you just, like, you have to ask for what you want. And that was one thing I learned early on, in dating, because two women can be equally beautiful, two women can be equally talented. So who gets to go shopping? Who gets to get invested in? Who gets to travel? It's the woman who speaks up. It's the woman who requires it. And I learned that early on in just life. And jokingly, I remember her saying, "Girl, you should write a book."
Mhm.
And I sat there and I started typing away, and I got maybe like 1 or 2 pages worth of, lessons that I felt were valuable. And I never thought about it again until maybe a year later. And that's when I really finished the book. But it absolutely is needed because women don't talk about things like this, about their worth, about what they want, about their requirements in a man because they're afraid that they won't get it or they'll be coined a gold digger or whatever reason. But I found that it's the same women who are afraid to ask what they want in the dating realm. It's the same women who are scared to ask for a pay raise at at their job. So it's not like a blunt line. It's a matter of mindset.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember thinking when I was outside of college, I worked in real estate development and dated a lot of really successful men. I flew around the country working with General Motors, Nucor Steel, a lot of huge clients. And I remember that if I allowed them to spend money on me, there would be some cost account at the end of the night.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
mm. My time is valuable, and one thing is like I would tell them what I want, and I would tell them, I hope you don't think this means we're going to have sex, so I get it out the way. And a lot of times when you put it on the table, they're like, oh, no, it's just a gift.
Oh, no, no, yeah, I understand. Oh, yeah.
you know and if they're the type of man to be like, well, then it's not going anywhere, then I'm fine with that. But I don't want to waste my time beating around the bush to find out 3 months later, 6 months down the line, he's still the type of man who's not going to invest in you, whether you gave it up or not.
Right, right. I had a friend who came to see me last night with her husband. Haven't seen her in 30 years. Her name is Flo, and her husband is David. And I was interested because I knew that I'd be talking to you about your perception of this. There were qualities about Flo back in her early 20s that I had a pretty good idea that she was going to be successful. And she mentioned last night that people knew that I was going to be successful. How is it? My dad was a derm surgeon, and I was surrounded by very successful doctors. So I knew that I was talking and communicating with people well. They were pretty affluent and successful. They didn't intimidate me.
Mhm.
How would you teach women at a young age that who they're hanging with, who they're talking to, who they're comfortable with is going to be a pretty good indication of whether or not you're going to be successful in life, because she is successful. But it started what the qualities I remember seeing in her. She spoke what she meant. She went after what she wanted. She was chairman of the housing committee for our sorority. She had leadership roles at an early age. How would you suggest to women that what you do in your 20s matters in life?
What you do in your 20s, it kind of set the foundation for the rest of your life. I remember feeling lost in my 20s. Like I felt like I was doing all the right things, but I just felt so behind because I had all these goals and I looked around me and the people who I was surrounded by did not have that much ambition, quite frankly. And I kind of felt like an oddball. And I remember my girlfriends telling me in my 20s, girl, every time we hang out, you got to meet the owner. You got to, it's always planned. Like, yes, because I'm not trying to stand in this line of 200 people next time. Okay.
Mhm.
Quite frankly. So you have to think about your life. You have to think about not just the next few months, not the years, but about your kids and your kids' kids, even if you don't have kids yet. And that's what wealthy people think about that poor middle class people do not think about. So you absolutely have to plan your surroundings, plan where you live, plan the people you hang out with, plan your networking events intentionally. Otherwise, you'll just kind of fall by the wayside and fall into somebody else's plan. So putting pen to paper is an absolute must. And I challenge
Mhm.
people to just close your eyes and think about your wildest dreams, your most, your biggest dreams, the wildest, whatever you can think about. Like, don't limit yourself, and think about where you want to be in the next 5 years, not where you think you can be based off your resources and your network. Like, where do you want to be? Like, what kind of bed you want to wake up in? What kind of neighborhood you want to live in? Who do you want to be married to? What do you want your children to look like? Where do you want them to go to school? What kind of career do you want to have? What kind of toys do you want to have? What kind of trips do you want to take? What kind of money do you want to make? And put your plan to paper. Actually write that down. And a lot of people don't live the life that they deserve, or the life that they see, simply because they don't write it down. People say, oh yeah, I wish I had this, but ask how many of those people do they actually write it down? And I think that's one of the things that really separated me from most. I actually wrote it down, and thank God, thank God. And I think the transition in my life is because I've read so many books. I was introduced to books self-help books, because I don't like novels. I want practical steps,
Sure.
So I was introduced to the self-help world by my sister. I remember her giving me a big box of books, and they were from people I never heard about at that time in my early 20s. Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and it really changed my life. And in some sense, it made me feel even lonelier, believe it or not, because I'm trying to share these ideas with the people in my circle, and they're like, they just always reading a book. They just so boring, So it's not until, I would say, about 10 years later that I really found my tribe of people, the people who read Think and Grow Rich and absorbed it, the people who read, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and all the other self-help books. It was like thousands of them. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one.
They're everywhere. That's right.
They're everywhere.
Right.
It just
But one thing I want to know is, who are you in the present day? Now, we talked about you when you in your 20s or whatever, coming towards it. But let us know who you are now, what it is that you do now. How do you empower women now?
So I would say what has changed is the mediums of how I empower people. So it started with my circle of friends, that it started with the first book that I wrote in my early 20s. It landed me on Dr. Phil. And that really changed the course of my life, because now women from all over the world were reaching out to me. It's the same woman.
What was the book about? What was it about that got you on Dr. Phil?
Yes, A Gold Digger's Guide, How to Get What You Want Without Giving It Up. So I scratched out the GOLD, turned it to GOAL. And
Love that.
Before the show aired, I was having like a mini nervous breakdown, because I'm like, oh, the first show did not go the way I wanted it to go. I didn't get to say everything that I wanted to say, and half the world probably gonna think I'm stupid. And I had 3 months before the show actually aired. So we recorded it, then we had 3 months before it aired. And I had to put the pedal to the metal. The first book, it wasn't finished. It was a manuscript with just a cover, So now I had to find a printer. Now I had to get my website up, so it was like 2 sides of me. One said, oh my God, like, just I hope they never air it, And the second part is like, girls, time to go. You got to get this, So I would say it's the mediums that change, because I still have the same mindset. I still have the same drive. Now I was able to reach more women. So women from all over the world started writing into me and saying, I feel the same way, and how can I learn more? How can I get more advice? Or I read your book and I'd like to know this question. So from then I became a life coach. And then now I teach people through webinars and courses and workshops all over the world, called Design Your Life.
You had a video that aired in 2021, Beige. And it looked to me like you were standing in Mexico, a place that I'd been, but I don't know for sure. I believe I had stayed in that hotel. And you said, just years ago, I was struggling, working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet. And now I have 7 streams of income, and none of them tie me down to working for someone else. And you said, press the link and you can learn more.
That's right.
And then I read somewhere else where it said that you were a proponent of direct selling, multi-level marketing, which I am too.
Yep.
And so I was wondering if that is part of your income stream, is being involved in direct selling. And if so, do you teach women? Is that one of the sources of income that you're talking about?
Absolutely, it is one of the sources. So the first company I was a part of, it was a trade-in, platform where I had a team, a direct sponsorship team of over close to 700, 700 people. And it wasn't an intentional goal of mine to become a leader in the industry or a leader in MLM per se, but people just resonated with me, people resonated with me because I was authentic, actually cared about them. And a lot of times people don't succeed in the MLM space because they're just for the check. If you don't have people's best interests at heart, then you're not going to be able to withstand that industry, because it is a people industry, So before I even partnered with that company, I was traveling the world teaching people how to be free, how to create streams of income. So that was just one stream for me. But absolutely, and I don't know if you guys ever heard the quote where they say it's better to get 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of your own. You cannot scale like that. You cannot become wealthy just working, even 24 hours a day. You're still not going to get there. So that's definitely one of my streams.
Well, because in the insurance industry, we respect that industry, and it is residual income. It is a form of residual income. You go to sleep at night, you get a check. You're getting a check and a percentage off the income, off the insurance policies that you sell. Yet there's a stain many times to direct selling and multi-level marketing. And it takes a strong person to stand up to sometimes the abuse that we get, because I'm not in one now, but I have been, and I was the number one person out of 200,000 reps immediately the very first month. And I trained people all over the world, and I made $8,000 in my first check. And so when I try to tell people, because I do a lot of sales training, that this is an industry that should be a very well-respected industry, because it's one of the best ways to sell a product. And it is one of the groups of people, if you're on a really good team, Beige, you are inundated with self-growth and mindsets and improving your skill set. So in fact, I have a woman that works for me, and one of the things that she really loves about it is the fact that she's surrounding herself with people that call her higher.
Yep. So my strategy in any space is not to chase people down, not to convince them, because that will be a whole lifetime of convincing. It's about trying to find the people who are ready. It's like people out there who are ready to work with other millionaires, ready to get 1% of 100 people's efforts, ready to scale, ready to help other people who are ready. And one of the things I excel in is marketing, especially on social media. So I would say it wasn't hard finding those people. It wasn't hard finding those people. You don't have to teach people from scratch. It's people out there waiting. And when they hear of the opportunity, they know it's the right opportunity. So I would say for people who are struggling in that space, you will hear no's, but try to think about the places where the people will tell you yes. Where do they hang out at? They hang out at bookstores, maybe libraries, maybe other self-development conferences. So think about that, is what I tell them.
Right. You said something that reminded me of, did you ever listen to Seasons of Life by Jim Rohn, Beige?
I feel like I listened to all of his older CDs.
This one is a tiny little book with a drawing, think of a tree on the front, but
I don't
it's
remember
really amazing. And you said something, and I don't know what year it was. I'd be interested in knowing what year. You were in your car and you had the camera on yourself, and you said it's 5 a.m. I thought, here she goes. She's going to talk about her 5 a.m. workout. All right. And you said it's 5 a.m. and the sun is getting ready to rise. And I'm just really recommending that y'all enjoy the day, get up earlier. But that's not the part that interested me. What interested me was the end of that conversation where you said, I used to show myself working out all the time and I wanted you all to see that I was working out. But now I don't need to show you that anymore because what you're going to see is the results. That's the part that I liked. I like, go.
God, I remember thinking that all the time. I don't remember I actually put a video out like that
You
years
did,
ago.
yeah.
But absolutely, absolutely. I remember a lot of times the stuff I was doing was for, the gram. Look at me, I'm doing all the right things, But then after a while, you just get to just do it. People will see whether it's you saving money, whether it's you working out, whether it's the vitamins or herbs you take, they'll see the results. So just give it time. Just keep your head down.
I really like that part. I really like that part. Jim Rohn's a proponent. He said, why don't you just eat the freaking apple every day? He said, it's going to help you live longer. It's going to make you feel better. And he named the percentage in the audience that won't eat the apple. And that's what it reminded me of. Your son, you know what? You don't need to look at what I'm doing. Just watch the results.
Yeah.
And then actually I saw you, and this may sound strange to you. You dress beautifully.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You really do. You dress really beautifully.
Thank you.
I don't know where you were, but you were wearing, I know where you were. You were in a hotel in a conference room eating breakfast. You were wearing an all white outfit. And Boston was wearing this crazy outfit. It was a black jacket with, like, I don't know. It was like it had glitter on it or something. And then y'all walked out to your car. I don't know a lot about fancy cars. You either walked out to a Rolls Royce or a big BMW or something. I thought, now Ben and I can never be that. That is not our strength. But I admired y'all. You were clicking. You were clicking. And I don't know what y'all were talking about, but you were saying that it was worth the gathering. Do you remember that time?
I remember that now. That's on brunch. So it was brunch with Beige in Boston. So every now and then we have, intimate gatherings because everybody cannot afford like a coach, a one-on-one session, whether it's on Zoom or over the phone or in person. But so this is an opportunity we give people the chance to just come and gather in a 5-star environment and actually pick our brains, and the stuff we wouldn't talk about publicly and on the gram, we actually open up to them. So I do remember that.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you do international coaching, Paige?
Yeah, when you say international, you mean like coach people overseas?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what it's all about because I love traveling, So I love extending my reach from my computer and from my laptop. I've been to close to 40 countries at this point. So for the most part, any formula that I have to make income, that I have to be mobile, So international coaching.
Okay, awesome. Do you have a women's network already set up, membership line?
Well, the Gold Group. So we are working on the membership now because, a paid membership, because so far the membership has been free or complimentary for the last 10 years. So my company is called the Gold Group, and that's GOAL. It is a financial empowerment group predominantly for women. And we, besides the workshops, besides the Design Your Life workshops and the coaching, we have different challenges throughout the year. So the 2 challenges we're running now is the 5 a.m. challenge. So we do that for 30 days at a time. You wake up at 5. Well, you wake up at 5 and you do something productive. It may be writing a chapter of a book that you always wanted to write, or reading a chapter of a book, or writing your business plan, or working out, or strategizing, or prepping your meals, whatever it may be. But I find that if you can wake up at 5 a.m. just for 30 days, like your life can change over the course of the next year if you actually put that plan to action. And the other challenge we're running now is the Gone Green Challenge. So it's a vegan challenge where for that month, it's just plant-based things that we're consuming. Because my lifelong dream is to be a vegan. Still a work in progress. Still a work in progress.
I'll tell you something else I'm interested in. I want you to give the woman that's sitting out there watching this program a coaching session. And let me tell you what her issue is. She have decided to pivot into another aspect of her entrepreneurship. But there's something that keeps getting in her way, and that's some of the mistakes that she made in her past as she traveled along her journey. And for whatever reason, just when she thinks she has moved into this other area,
Mhm.
the past yanks her back. Coach her.
Oh, I love this one because I remember my own mentor telling me, tell on yourself first, okay?
Mhm.
So if you walk in a spirit of liberation, nobody can hold anything over you, you know? So you have to like break the limitations off that by telling your story. Telling your story. When you tell your story, there's no industry that you cannot pivot in. So that is my advice to that woman. Like, tell your story. And you're gonna feel shame at first, and you're gonna feel, oh my God, did I do the right thing? But it's so many other women out there that you
Mhm.
are your voice. And if you feel that feeling saying, you know, like, should I not, should I not? That is the transitional period in your life. That's a transitional period in your life. And I feel it over and over when I'm faced with fear. And now I've trained myself like, okay, you don't want to jump into this water. Okay, you don't want to go on this stage. Like, do it, do it. So a lot of people, they feel that fear and they kind of retreat. And now that haunts them like for the rest of their life. Like you had your opportunity and you missed out on it. So when you feel that feeling, it's not a bad thing. It's your intuition saying, go for it. This is what's going to change your life. But I promise you, and it may not happen right away, but tell your story. Tell your story and tell people that you are pivoting, that you are changing, that you would love their support. And I promise you, it'll go in your direction. But the first step is telling on yourself.
Mhm.
Like that.
Beige, you're married to a man named Boston, is that right?
Yes, a force named Boston.
Yes, yes. And he shared a story about you, and I would like to know if your story is the same. But I
Mhm.
think your story of how you met and what he remembers about meeting you is important to the audience. And here's why. You walked into, he said, a cigar bar,
Mhm.
and some man offered to buy you a drink, and you said, what?
I can pay for my own drink because he was
I can
pretty.
pay for my own drink. I can pay for my own drink. And that got Boston's attention.
Mhm. Oh,
He said
yeah.
he heard it, but he didn't see you yet.
Mhm. Oh,
And you didn't accept the drink.
mhm. I remember
And
that.
then, yeah, and then you started talking to Boston. What was it? Because women all the time say, what attracts the right man? Well, he hadn't seen you yet. So it wasn't your beauty.
Mhm.
What would attract him, it would seem, is that your certainty of who you were as a human being.
Man, and I remember a lot of people ask us this question, like, where did you meet Boston? Does he have a brother? I'm like, he does, but they're not like him. They're not like him. But I do remember us going to, well, separately. I went with one of my girlfriends and he was with one of his guy friends. And it was my first time going there. It was this members only spot in Atlanta. And it was a speakeasy. So all you see is a red phone booth like the ones in London, and you walk in the phone booth, you dial the secret code, and a door opens up on the little phone booth, and now it's a whole lounge, like something out of a movie. It's pretty
Mhm.
excited. And I remember walking up to the bar, yeah, just straight to the bar, and some guy came up right away, and I was like, okay, he is not my type. This is not going to go anywhere. Just cut it short,
Mhm.
cut it short. So yeah, I told him he wanted to buy the drink. I told him, I got it, I got it. And I remember ordering my drink, and a guy said something to my right, and I don't even remember the words he said at the time, but I remember his voice. I remember his voice, and I remember his accent, and we started talking, and yeah, he was an island man too. So now he got my attention. An island man in that establishment, you usually don't find island men. So from that hour, he knew he was like well traveled and he kind of thought off the beaten path. So we struck up a conversation and yeah, it's funny. We struck up a conversation and I remember him wanting to exchange numbers. I told him I would give him my number because that's something I teach women. Like, just don't give out your number all willy-nilly just because you met the man. Like have some
Mhm.
type of standards, have a screening process. You don't know who he is. You don't want him calling you all type of night when he's drunk. So just get his number and feel him out. So I did that. I got his number. I didn't put it in my phone because I just feel like that's tacky. I just met you 5 minutes ago. There's probably other guys in the room looking. I don't want them to think I'm easy.
Mhm.
Girl
Mhm.
talk. Girl
Mhm.
talk. So I just remembered it. And when I excused myself to the restroom, that's when I saved the number in my phone. I didn't tell him that until years later. So he just thought I had this awesome memory. And I
Mhm.
probably did at the time, but I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to risk it. So that's where we hit it off. That's where we hit it off originally.
Do you mind if I ask you how old were you when you met Boston that night?
Ooh, when I met Boston, I was in my 20s. I feel like I had just moved to Atlanta, so I feel like I was around 28.
But
Yeah.
that's not the normal behavior for most women, Beige.
Hmm. How so?
Well, most women, first of all, would accept a drink. And secondly, most women would give out their phone number and they would hope for the best. It seems like what you were doing, even in your 20s, is you were taking the leadership. You were on the cause side, not on the effect side. You were determining who do you want to be with. You weren't hoping you were going to get picked. You were deciding who you wanted. That's a skill set.
It's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that. But yeah, I always knew what I wanted. Always knew what I wanted from an early age. Yeah, I always knew what I wanted.
But how did you get to the point, Beige, when you knew that you could get what you wanted? What was your family life like? I saw that you grew up, was it in New York and then also Jamaica?
So I was born in New York. I went to Jamaica when I was 6, and I stayed out there with extended family for about 8 years. Brooklyn was pretty rough, and my parents didn't want the life for me that my older siblings had. So they're like, okay, 6 years old, you're going to Jamaica to go live with auntie and grandma. I didn't know the difference. So I was happy to be down there. And living in Jamaica, I went to an all-girl boarding school. So that taught me a lot about my work without me even knowing it. We had to wear uniform, had to press our uniform. At 10 years old, I was washing my stuff by hand, ironing them myself. Like we were walking in line. It was kind of militant, like
Mhm.
lunching dinner at the same time when you hear the bell ring, you have to have your shoes shine, your hair neat. So it was prepping me it was just prepping me for life. It was prepping me for life. And in Jamaica, we didn't have a lot, but I didn't know that we didn't have a lot. And that was the first 4 years of Jamaica. And when I say not having a lot, like the lights used to go out a lot, the water used to go off a lot. We used to have to walk to the river, bring back water, and it was just a normal part of life. So I remember those 4 years of my life. Then I remember the next 4 years of Jamaica, living with my grandma and seeing the contrast. My grandma had money. I didn't know that, but looking back, I'm like, oh, grandma was loaded.
Mhm.
Had money. She had her 5-bedroom home and a 2 or 3 car garage. At that point, she was retired, and I remember when nobody else in Jamaica had TV, she had this satellite dish, the size of this room, and she used to take trips to America maybe twice a year to stock up on just toiletries. And so she and the chandeliers, a lot of the things that I'm attracted to now and that I have in my home now I know it's because of grandma, the chandeliers, the oriental rugs and things like that.
Mhm.
So I got to see the contrast the first 4 years and the second 4 years of living in Jamaica. But my grandmother, her confidence was off the charts, and you could tell by her posture, the way she speaks, and the way she interacted with people. And she never had to say it, and even though she was married, she was a leader. She was a leader. And I never thought that consciously, oh, I need a man. Like watching my grandma, a man was just like an accessory. And I hate to say it sounds kind of harsh and blunt, but that's what it was. And it took years of me, or people or men telling me, hey, babe, you're walking in front of me. We're walking together, like, so a lot of the confidence or a lot of the way I saw men or the limiting belief that a lot of women had, I did not have it. So I feel like that was one of my advantages. I didn't feel less than because I was a woman.
Right. Did you find yourself feeling well received? And this is a personal question, but it's a question that I think a lot of women experience and don't know how to deal with it. Did you find yourself well received by Boston's friends? Because you're a very strong woman, you speak with certainty, you're really pretty, well educated, you already had success. Did you find yourself well received by Boston's friends, or were they saying more like, I don't know, dude, she's not for you?
Well, one of the things I'm sure his friends or partners probably brought up to him was my book, and he intentionally did not read the book because he did not want to prejudge me. And I'm glad he did, because if I knew he read the book, then I would have to be that girl 24/7, I would
Right.
never let my guard down. So I'm sure they had their apprehensions seeing the public persona of me, but he intentionally did not want to read the book, and he wanted to meet me for himself and know me for himself. And that's the route we took.
Right. And so when you have a public persona of people perceiving you in a certain way, yet you know that you're more than that.
Mhm.
How in your personal life do you stay true to who you really are? Because I think that's I think that would be a challenge.
Yeah, I definitely set boundaries. I have boundaries, I set boundaries. Even with my phone, there's my personal phone, and then there's the phone we work off of, and where we live, it's not like a free for all, So we definitely set boundaries. And if I feel like it's people who test those boundaries or those limits, like I just remove them from my life, because I love my peace and I love my privacy.
Mhm.
I may post on social media a lot, but I post what I want to post.
Right. Right. If there's a subject that you would want to talk about that has given you hesitation, but you're glad that you did, what would that subject be?
I would say traveling by myself. Traveling by myself has widened my horizon so much. And a lot of times it's something as small as a passport that breaks down so many barriers and also opens so many doors. I remember when I started traveling by myself, people were like, oh my God, you're going to go to Dubai by yourself? You see what they said on the news and how they treat women over there. And thank God I didn't listen, because I've had the most amazing times traveling. And I've been to quite a few countries before Boston even came into my life. And after a while, it kind of feels like a drug, like just break out from the mundane and just pick a country and go. No research, just pick a country and go, and see what adventure unfolds. But I feel like so many people are afraid, and they're afraid because they watch news and they absorb social media. Like, I go on social media, I post. I don't scroll through other people's stuff. If something negative pops up, I block it, I block it. Like, you have to have boundaries with your aura. You have to have boundaries
Mhm.
with yourself. And it's almost impossible to watch the news every day and want to travel and interact with other
Yes.
cultures. I stopped watching TV about 17 years ago. I don't watch news. I barely like watching Netflix. Like, we'll do movies once in a while, but I feel like if I watched the news on a regular, or just entertained everything that came up on my social media, or watched any type of TV on a regular basis, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. Because
Mhm.
television absolutely programs you and instills fear in you. So I would say travel, and don't be afraid to travel by yourself.
So
You
babe,
just
have you thought about your next pivot?
Oh, my next pivot. I don't think there's a next pivot for me. And I know that kind of sounds stagnant, but I really don't, because I feel like I found myself a long time ago, and because I've had so many life changing experiences that caused me to question my existence and why am I here and what's my purpose. And my purpose is to teach other people how to become financially free so they can live out their purpose and so they can have their time. So I may have different mediums as different forms of technology come to fruition or unfold. Like, it'll probably be just the mediums that change, but I will always teach people how to become free whether it's books or workshops or courses or webinars or one-on-one. And I'll continue to just build my other streams of residual income. Right now I have real estate. Right now I'm in the foreign exchange space, the cryptocurrency space. I'm investing in actual Bitcoin ATMs. So when people, buy or sell Bitcoin through my machines, I make a commission, and I teach people how to get in that space too. So it's not much of a pivot for me. I found my lane.
Mhm.
Can you share some of the experiences that you went through? I always, when people come on the show, the life seems so wonderful, so perfect, and all of that. And I like to go backwards to see really what it was like. And I think that helped the audience even more to understand you were there where I am now, possibly.
Mhm.
But look at you now. So there is hope for me.
Yep. I would say, I feel like a lot of people struggle with depression and anxiety. And for different parts of my life, I suffered from those things as well. And I remember when my mom passed away, I was 19 years old and I was angry for years. I'm like, what kind of God would allow somebody who loves him, who goes to church, who praises him, who witnesses to everybody she meets to just like suffer and then die with nothing to show for it, no house, no car, nothing to leave her kids. Like, I remember just going through this phase of just pain and depression for a while. And what I learned is like the more you hold on to that, the more reasons you're gonna get to be depressed and and to have pain. And I remember going through a point where I have a little sister. She was 15 at the time, and it was all over the news that she got shot in the head by a stray bullet. And she still can't walk or talk. She still can't walk or talk yet. And I remember at that very moment, I'm like, okay, you can go through the same cycle you did when mom passed away, or you can change your whole mindset about it. And I chose to change my mindset. I chose to think about the good times and the 15 years I had with her, where we could talk and reason and read and run through the park and stuff like that. And I thought about my purpose again, and why I was here. And it was to help other people. And I just delved into my purpose, and I got busy. So we are always gonna go through things in life. It's like how long you're gonna wallow in it. Because the more you wallow in it is the more you're gonna attract it to you. And when I learned about the law of attraction, I learned that you can't wait until things get better to kind of flip the switch and be happy. You have to tell yourself every single day, I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am loved, And I write those affirmations on my mirror, and I say them every day. Even the days I don't feel like it, I say them extra.
Mhm.
And I find that like it helps. It helps, man. It helps. So whether it's depression or anxiety, it's like stop focusing on what already happened and try to find the best in what can happen, and just keep looking towards the future, and what you're going through will be a little bit shorter.
Mhm.
Mm.
You mentioned aura, and you also mentioned law of attraction.
Mhm.
I believe that successful people, and I don't mean money, what I mean is people that are living their lives, they're thriving spiritually, financially, relationally. They're just thriving. And there's certain things that they do every day, and they know that when they don't do them, it's toxic. It will break down their aura, it will change their energy. Like my friend last night, her husband, he eats a sweet potato with cinnamon every night. He enjoys it. It makes him feel good. His sweet potato is part of what he does to make himself feel good. And she doesn't overeat. I was looking at her plate. There wasn't a lot on there. And she's tall and thin, and she takes care of her body. I am interested in knowing what are part of your daily routines that increase your aura and increase your ability to attract.
All right. I think that is the very first time I had that question. But my mornings are very intentional. I like to wake up at the same time every day. 5 a.m. I call it the 5 a.m. challenge because even though I'm a bird, it's still a challenge. I have to set my alarm to get up at 5. So like when I'm traveling and stuff, it kind of throws me off. But I still get up early. I would say a late day for me is like 8 o'clock. My body usually wakes me up, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and my brain just starts. So once I wake up, the first thing I say is thank you, and I pray. And it may not be a long prayer. Sometimes it's just thank you, God. Thank you. I get another day at this thing called life. So I wake up, I brush my teeth, wash my face. My affirmation sticker that says I am so happy and grateful is right up there. So I either write under it or the affirmations that are still there, I say them and I try to say them out loud. I then go to the gym. Sometimes before or after I visualize. So if it's not just closing my eyes and seeing my ideal day or my ideal life, actually I turn on a TV, go to YouTube, pull up billionaire visualizations, and I'll find photos or videos of yachts and mansions and travel and just luxury stuff. And I just watch it for like 20 minutes, soaking it all up. And then I'm off to the gym. And well, right before I go to the gym, I take supplements. So I take a lot of herbs. I take a lot of herbs. I have a low thyroid. So, and for most of my life, I was always like tired, even though I worked out and watched what I ate for the most part and exercise. Like I was like, something is wrong. My vitamins low or something's happening. And the doctors used to always say, oh no, everything's fine. I'm like, something is not fine. There's no reason I need to take a nap every single day. I'm not doing manual labor, and I'll sleep for 8 hours. And after the first 3 or 4 hours of the day, I feel like I haven't slept in 3 days. And it's like my mind is what had to get me through the day. I'm like, this is not normal. So they found out it was low thyroid. So I take something for that. But in addition to that, I do a lot of greens. I don't have the time to actually juice them myself anymore, but it'll be a powder with probably like 50 different superfoods and stuff. So I'll do that. And my other greens are Irish moss. And then we're off to the gym. So I do the gym. When I go to the gym, I go in the sauna for about 15, 20 minutes and I meditate in the sauna, And at first I was like, oh, these people are going to think I'm wearing their hair, the yoga pose with my eyes closed. But I'm like, you know what? That's okay. After a while, I just got to, that's okay. So I'll do that for about 15 minutes and just close my eyes and just listen to the silence. People don't do that. They think, okay, you resting, you going to sleep. It's not the same. It's not the same. So I find that I feel like I manifest or attract stuff quicker to me when I have that peace of mind and I kind of let everything go. So I do that and then I work out for about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. I go home and shower, but I do all of that before 9 o'clock. If that catches me before 9 o'clock, my day feels topsy-turvy. So I don't do any type of work before that, and sometimes on the treadmill and stuff, I'll listen to an audio book and I would say that's a good morning.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
Well, it's we have about 10 more minutes, and we always solicit questions from our audience. We put you in the hot seat, Paige. So, does anyone have a question that you would like to ask Paige? Unmute yourself and ask the question if you have one.
Telling y'all it's free game.
Hi, Miss Beige.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. I'm on day 15 for the book release.
Let's go. Congratulations.
Yes. I know Beige. She's my mentor and I love her dearly. And most of this I already knew and I've read all of her books. She's like a big sister, a family member, all wrapped up into one. And when she loves you and it's genuine. You have gotten to know a sweet person inside and out, and she's so thoughtful. I want to ask you, what was your favorite city that you visited?
Oh, my
or,
favorite
or country?
or country. There's so many of them. A favorite. Okay. I could see myself living in Dubai, but I also love Thailand.
Okay, those are on my list.
Thailand. And Bali is on my list. That's probably going to be one of the next
Yes,
visit. But I feel like I'm just going to love it so much.
I still want to see Greece. I want to go to Santorini, Greece.
It really was
Yes.
beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yes, yes.
Go to Thailand. Go to Thailand.
Okay, okay.
Amazing.
Make sure you get on the elephant and take some pictures.
Okay, the ones in Bali.
Thailand
I think that
And-
already, girl.
and Phuket, I think. Yeah, learning the culture is great.
Nice. Good seeing you.
Same here. You look lovely, darling. You look gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice meeting you all.
Nice
Nice
meeting you.
meeting you too. Any other questions?
Hey, Rob.
Any other questions? You did very, very well, Paige. We can't, I mean, whatever you said, you did it. They don't have questions. I don't know if we've ever had an audience that did not have questions. Okay, Juliana, you have a
Hi.
question.
I have a question. So nice to meet you. And you are like my soul sister because everything you were saying is like, yes, I do the same thing. Waking up basically the same time every day. I have my morning routine. And one thing that I'm focusing on right now is sharing my story, my journey, and putting it out there and doing the things that were really difficult for me, to put myself out there without self-judgment, without self-critical, because coming from a victim mentality for so long and realizing that why, for what reason is this serving me in any way? And having that transformation and knowing that I'm here for a reason. There's a bigger mission that God put me on this planet, and it's my time to figure it out. I I would say that I have multiple streams of income, but I am not at the place where I want to be. And I really loved what you said about the visualization. I've tried to do that, but I have not listened or watched a millionaire vision board, their vision. I've heard about it, but I haven't done it. And do you have a mission statement or a visual statement that you kind of go by, that kind of a mantra that you say?
About to say, I think it'd be like a mantra. And I know a lot of people do. I don't, if you're talking about like when I actually meditate. But just my life mission statement is design your life, you know? But it's normal for in the beginning process when you're visualizing or even meditating, like nothing's happening and you feel your mind racing and things like that. And in that case, you probably want to try like a guided meditation. On YouTube, there's this lady called Boho Beautiful. You know, Boho Beautiful. She's pretty cool. It's free, you know, to just listen to the 20 minute meditation, and she actually guides you. She tells you to breathe and what to think about. And so that way it's not just up to you, you know, if you feel like your mind is racing a lot. So you probably want to try that. But for the meditation, it takes practice. It takes practice. I remember doing it for months and months, and I'm like, okay, I'm still thinking about I'm gonna be late, you know, I'm thinking about the stuff I should have done. And it just wasn't working, but I just kept doing it. I just kept doing it. And I remember just trying to see myself like, okay, what's your ideal life? What's your ideal day? And I remember like seeing myself on the stage and having thousands of people there, and I'm teaching them, and I'm like, yes, yes. And this was before I ever been on a stage of that magnitude. And I just kept doing it every day. I kept doing it every day. And then one day something interesting happened where I no longer saw myself like on stage, like down there, on stage, I saw the audience in front of me, if that makes sense. So now my whole visualization was like in like first party, and nobody ever taught me to try to see yourself that way. But after I saw myself actually doing it, then it was no going back to just being a spectator of your own life, So when you think about what you want to do that day, when you think about your ideal life, like actually see it piece by piece. You can see your hands on your steering wheel in your car. You can see the ring you want on your hand. You can look down and you see the shoes you want to wear. You can actually see your ceiling because you're laying down in your luxurious bed. You can feel the carpet under your feet. So like think about the textures of stuff, the smell of things, and that will probably help you. But I'm like addicted to visualizing now, because I visualize these elaborate life and lifestyles, and sometimes you come back to reality like, okay, this ain't it. I gotta work harder. So I hope that helps.
I wanted to offer a vision for you before we close up. There's a scripture that says, without vision, my people will perish. And you're obviously a woman filled with vision. But it's strange. I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote 10,000 Hours. Yeah. And he was interviewing Scogan, who's president of Hope University. And they're trying to start a process where no one has to pay for education. And he said, it's not the money that brings people joy. And he came up with this slogan, which is, living is giving. Living is giving. And he's giving them an opportunity, 50 students a year, free education, and in turn, they can give back whatever they want to over the course of their lifetime. But it's about teaching people the beauty of giving. And I thought about you when you were talking, as I have this vision for you, and I don't normally speak of visions unless I'm pretty certain that there's going to be some large property named in your name, and it's going to be a resource for women from the bottom up, using all of your knowledge and bringing women to the forefront, where you are actually teaching women how to thrive. I see that, and I see your name on it.
I receive it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Man,
anyone else has a question for the mighty Beige?
Hi, Beige, it's Rob.
Hello, nice to see you.
I know, huh? Beige, I don't really have a question, but I just want to say that since we've become friends the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, you in Boston, that I've become more positive, and I'm living, your, all that you've kind of taught and spoken. I've learned so much from you in Boston that it's helped me in my life, just to, my business is doing better, my life is doing better. And I just want to thank you for, all that you've, have given me the last 5 years, and just advice and help me out with so many situations that I could learn from your experiences. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you for sticking around.
You're welcome.
It's my heart, man. It's all about giving back,
Yeah,
Yes.
it really is. Anyone else? Anyone else? Dr. Morat?
Dr. Lee, I have another question. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you to learn more about your programs, or to get, because I have a vision of having my phone or my address book having many names of very high influential people, and because you want to surround yourself with as many people as you want to see yourself as. And so I'm not sure if that's something that you would be doing. So I don't know if there's a link that you could put in to see how I could follow you, or
Yes, ma'am. So I am on Instagram and it's a lot of impersonators out there, like a lot that have my same picture and using my name, but it's at Miss Beige. So it's just MISSBAJE. And I'll put it in the chat right here.
Thank you.
So Miss Beige, MISSBAJE, and I'm on Instagram all the time. You message me, I'll respond.
Thank you. This is Suchi Beige. And hi, I'm sorry, I'm getting my hair done right now. I'm sorry. I'm at. But just want to say I love you, appreciate you and your leadership. And just when I first met you, you know, you're just so beautiful, amazing woman of God. God bless you, and I love you. Thank you for being an example.
Thank you for
As-
hopping on. That means a lot. It's been a minute since I've seen you.
Thank you. God bless you. Jesus loves you.
Jump off. If no one else has another question, Lael, who's this trying to come in at the last minute? Let's see who it is anyway. So, babe, you did not just wake up like this, huh? Took you a minute to get there.
It took me a minute.
I enjoyed your story. I really, really did. So we have Miss Hernandez. I see you come on. Hello. Still muted.
I enjoyed this. You know, I didn't know what questions to expect, and you guys gave me a real plethora of questions from all walks of my life, and I appreciate the questions. You know, I appreciate the questions, and I hope that all of you were able to take some little nugget away. But I'm glad I.
Yes. So if you wanted, Paige, you want women to start following you.
Mhm.
So what are you going to tell them? How they're going to reach you? Are you going to invite them to your setup? What are you going to do?
So yeah, one is Instagrams, and on my private website, I am revamping it, and it'll probably be ready in about a week or so, and it will also be missbaje.com, MISSBAJE. But in the meantime, people can really reach out to me on Instagram, and whether that's for coaching, or if you want to know what courses I'm launching, or if you just have any questions, want to see what events we have coming up next. So we'll be in DC in a few days. Yep. So it's on Miss Beige on Instagram. You guys can reach out to me at.
And they can email you at the
They can-
goal.
Goal Group at Gmail. So THEGOAL group, which is GROUP Inc. at gmail.com. So THEGOAL GROUPINC for incorporated at gmail.com. And I'm dropping that in the chat as well.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, Lael, I know she's an awesome coach as well. Lael, can you give us a little bit about your coaching style? What is it that you want people to know if they need an executive coach, a coach that's very good in communication?
Well, what I do is I work with CEOs with at one time star performers who are starting to flatline and to resurrect what they're passionate about, because it's a lot more expensive for a CEO to rehire than it is to have someone like me dig deep and to figure out what is causing them, what's causing the apathy, what's causing the loss of joy in your job. And it's normally not the work, it's something in their personal life. So I primarily work a lot with men, but I really enjoy it because I know I've been there too. Vice president of a very large company, and suddenly I didn't feel like doing it anymore. What happened?
Mhm.
It was a lot of days and a lot of thoughts and a lot of rumination. and a lot of procrastination where you just think you can't keep up anymore. And so I work with people like that were once star performers who have fallen off the map.
Awesome. I remember the story, one of the ladies told us how she met you. I forget what went wrong in her life. You recalled her, but she said all she could do was just cry, 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 cry.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and I
What you
said, listen,
telling you?
here's our goal. What I'd like to do is I'd like to see you only cry once every week. Can we start there? And then we moved to, I said, you can't be a leader. You can't manage a staff when you're crying because you're overwhelmed. And that is a thing that women do, is they start to cry when they feel overwhelmed, but it's not respected by men. And so I asked her, I said, why don't you just cry once a week? And then we moved it to once every 3 days. And so what finally happened is I had another tenant call me and say, hey, you have one of your staff people crying under a tree. And I said, listen, what we're going to do next is we're going to cry off property. That's our next goal, is to cry off property. But, a lot of women, they have that, is when they get overwhelmed, they cry, but it's not a respected commodity. We need to learn how to deal with our anxieties and our fears and our stressors in a way that still keeps you in the game. I mean, I used to literally dry heave on myself and just go to the bathroom all the time. It was horrible. Me physically, I couldn't deal with the stressors that were in life. So I understand stressors and anxieties, but we have to learn better strategies.
And then we can only show a certain portion of ourselves. Like, as you said, that weak portion, we're not allowed as women to show it. You will not get respect for that, right, Paige?
You see, like, that's why I can't be in corporate America, because I'm a crier. It's happy tears, though. It's happy tears. Oh my gosh. No, like, no, I remember where I never used to show an emotion, whether it was like crying or laughing. I just used to have this dope, look on my face. And I didn't like to be hugged. I didn't want to feel weak, And I had to like become vulnerable. So for a lot of people, it's the opposite, where they show emotion. But for me, is I had to allow myself to emotions. So
Give yourself permission to allow your feelings to show.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm Dr. Lee Lewis, the CEO of Women of Wealth magazines. And we're just finishing up an issue now. We're going to be back out in the airports and in the bookstores and all of that. So I'm excited about that. And we do events all around the world. We're on our way to Dubai. If anyone would like to accompany us, by all means, Paige, I know you hear me.
Give me the dates.
So anyway, we love motivating women and men, helping them with their self-development, elevating them, helping them to elevate to where they can see themselves going. Because the thing is, if you can't see you're there, it's hard to get there because you cannot see you're there. Sometimes you can look at someone else's there, but if you can't see you're there, hard to get there. It's all about the mind. All about the mind. All right. So good to see you, Rob. We did, sometimes women can get, you know what I'm saying, being the only man, but then I know we have Boston somewhere hiding, not saying anything. He don't want to get you. Trust me, he's around.
He's around.
He's around. He's around. He did not. I thought he was going to ask you a real good, challenging question, Paige. I thought he was, but he didn't. So
Yeah, I'm not
to let him go. He was being the good guy tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Unless someone has something else, then we're going to close it for this evening and,
Before you guys close it out, since you said I've
see,
been
what did I tell
hiding
you?
in the
What did I tell
background.
There you go, Boston. We knew
What
it.
did I
We knew
tell
it.
I've been hiding in the background. I came in and I was just listening from a certain point, and I was smiling at the questions and just elated at how my wife would respond. And you guys asked about a challenging question. A challenging question for my wife, being that she's in the hot seat right now. I would say, because I love her transparency and her truth,
Yes.
then your journey of being a wife, that would be a question I would have asked my wife at the end of this call right now. I think because of all what she said about the power of women and being able to empower women, and she's done such an amazing job, not only empowering women, but men as well. She has empowered me and inspired me. So I would definitely ask that question because of being able to wear the hats that she's worn. So that would be my question to you, Paige.
My
Your journey as a wife.
what it's been like.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I must say that I was one of the women who say I will never get married. You know, I don't want to feel shackled down. I want to go where I want to go and make my own decisions and not be responsible for anybody and not have anybody responsible for me, you know? And then along came Boston, so I made some adjustments. I made some adjustments, and I would say I still don't believe in marriage per se. You know, I feel like people change maybe every 5 or 10 years, as they should. And a lot of times people change and grow in the opposite direction. And who you said those vows to 10 years ago is not the same person you are living with and waking up today with, you know. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like marriage should be renewed like every 8 years or so. Every 8 years or so. But my journey, my journey as a wife, I would say, I didn't think too much about it when I took the leap of faith for marriage. You know, I was like, okay, we're gonna jump into this thing and just take it one day at a time, one day at a time. If you're not happy, you can always leave. Honestly, that's was my thinking about marriage, because when I thought about forever, it like freaked me out. It like freaked me out. But now I look back and it's like 6 years, you know, over 6 years. And I'm like, girl, you doing this thing, you doing this thing. So yeah, 6 years. But I would say it's been so many challenges, you know, and so many challenges that will never end up on the ground. But what makes it worth it, or what made me stay this long, is because I know I have somebody who would fight for me, who would die for me, you know? And if I hit rock bottom, then he right there, rock bottom with me, you know? And I feel like at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. Like, do you have somebody who wants to be in your corner, like, no matter what? So when you think about that and you think about the challenges that come, you're like, okay, I got one more day in me. I got one more day in me. You know, so just one more day. And that's how I think about marriage. Like, don't freak yourself out thinking about, will it work, and are we gonna have kids, and you know, like finances and family, and just like stop freaking yourself out, because a lot of times you plan for a certain stuff and it doesn't come, or a lot of times you don't plan for stuff and it comes, and you can't have the same marriage that other people have. You have to like deal with spouse based off your spouse. You can't tell them, well, other men do this, or men should do this, or women should do this. I feel like people will get a lot further if you just listen to what your spouse is saying. So my journey as a wife, it's so much more than a wife. You know, it's like friendship and friends and business partners and travel buddy and investment partners. And we are around each other 24 hours a day. And that is a challenge. I would say that is our biggest challenge because one, I'm an introvert. Like when you speak to me, I'll speak. And if I have my own floor, my platform, I'll speak. But overall, I'm quiet. That doesn't mean I'm weak. I'm very strong mentally, you know, but I'm quiet and people will kind of like confuse that in the beginning until I have to talk up for myself. But, yeah, and Boston is more on the boisterous side, you know, so
Yeah.
to have that and you have a woman who traveled the world by herself for most of her adult life and now you're around somebody 24/7, that is our biggest challenge. And I would say that is the biggest thing we're working on still. Still. And I feel like as long as we continue to respect each other's boundaries and space, then we may have another 6 years in us.
Boston, is that the answer you thought you were going to get?
Yeah, absolutely. I can only be transparent with you. I knew I was going to get the real Beige of what I get every day. She is literally nothing different from what I get every day. She is clear cut and precise to how she looks at this. And what I do is I leave behind my belief and I let everything else fall in place because you know, ego is a destroyer of so many things. So I believe I had to learn so many lessons, and she has taught me so many lessons. So the process is the process. And then I get to look at people like you, Lael, obviously, that's been married for a while, and my in-laws and sisters and people around us to say, wow, I know they had to have journeys as well. So because there have been hurdles that they might have went over, how do we get over our hurdle without it having to break the cart, if that makes sense, you know? So that's the answer. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I can give you my answer. Because I had to change from the me to we, I didn't do too well at that. So I decided to leave it alone. With that being said,
As Dr. Lee runs off with that statement.
me, not we.
Yeah, me.
Me. And I know exactly what Paige is saying. Go when I want to go, come when I want to come, make my own decisions and, you know, all that other good stuff. But can't do that when it's two. Gotta stop long enough to check to see if the person is running along beside you or have you outrun them and them. You know, you're messed up. A lot of apology, but that's okay. All right, so Natalie Atkinson, so glad you joined us tonight, and Ms. Hernandez. But we usually try to keep folks about an hour. Someone said they probably only listened to you for an hour, but the conversation was so good tonight. I guarantee you they're going to listen to this whole shalom. So we're going to be on, we were on Facebook. Oh, God, we're still on Facebook. Ooh, I hope I didn't say. I forgot we were on Facebook. We're still on Facebook Live, but okay, I didn't say anything out of the way. Lael, you should, girl, you gotta watch us because I didn't know.
I know there's no controlling you. I'm going to let you do your thing.
Now, see, I might have been able to find someone to marry, but I messed around and said, no, we, only me. So I guess that's the end of that.
He's coming. He's coming.
He's coming. Okay, he's coming. All right, so we're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. and we love to bring on very, very interesting guests. And what I'm thinking about next week, Lael, why don't we just bring authors on and let's do, what do you call it, the book, you know, where we look at different books and discuss the book club.
Elevate Book Club.
Yes, Elevate Book Club. And have the authors come on and talk about their books and yeah, I like that. I like that. What do you think?
Like it.
Okay, good. All right, thank you so much, Paige. You were a
Thank you, Beige.
Thank you both
beautiful
for having me.
guest.
I truly enjoyed this.
Beautiful guest. And thank you, Julianne, and everyone that came on tonight. We really appreciate you. And don't forget about us. Stop in one of these good old Thursdays and see what Lael and Lee is doing. Lee and
That's right.
Lael and Lee, one of the.
We're still working all that out. We don't
All
care.
right. God bless you. And you have the awesome rest of the week.
Night, night, everybody.
Say goodbye to Facebook and all the
Night-night.
guys, Instagram, group, YouTube, everybody.
May I put a little detangler in your hair? This is my Annika. It's a really